G'day folks, it's Patrick here, S-Line Method creator. You know, a lot of people have asked me, what is native English? Or, why is it so important to speak native English? Why is it important to speak native English? Why is it so? Why is it so important to speak native English? And I mean, before I talk about why it's important, before I talk about that, and I have a lot to talk about, but I'm trying to keep it sort of, contained. I have a lot to say, but I'm not going to say everything I have to say because otherwise it would take ages. I guess what I want to make clear is what is native English, because people, I think, misunderstand that. And they don't know what native English is. And I think people confuse native English with native accent. They're not the same, okay? They're not the same. Native English is not a native accent. So you can be a native speaker of English. You can speak English like native speakers without having American accent, without having a purely American accent or a British accent or an Australian accent. Okay, so for example, when I go to America, and I've been to America once, only once, okay, when I did go to America, I went to New York, they thought I was Canadian. They didn't really think I was American, they thought I was Canadian. And when I went to Canada, they thought I was American. I live in Australia, people think I'm American. Okay, so it depends on where you are. It depends on where you are, but they all believe that I'm a native speaker of English. They think I'm a native speaker of English. And they are native speakers who think that I'm a native speaker. And that's all that matters. Really. I don't care if I sound purely American or purely Canadian or purely Australian. I don't care. Who cares? There's no perfect accent, right? I mean, the differences are very little between one accent and another. I mean, when you look closely, if you study the differences, of course, there are big differences. When you're as obsessed as I am, when you're as crazy as I am with the sounds of the language, of course, you're going to see a lot of differences. But the truth of the matter, as far as you're concerned, the differences are very small. So when you're able to speak like a native speaker of English, it doesn't matter if you sound American or British or Australian. It doesn't matter. Native English has the same features, okay, no matter where it's from. All native speakers speak fluently, okay? All native speakers connect the words together, okay? All native speakers speak with rhythm. They have proper intonation, okay? So those are the features that all native speakers have. It doesn't matter where you're from. They all have those features. So native English is fluent, natural, and clear. That's it. That's what native English is, okay? So now that aside, why is it important to speak like a native speaker? Why? Why isn't it just enough to speak so people can understand? Because that's what I hear from everybody. That's what I hear from teachers. I hear a lot of teachers telling me, why do you teach why do you teach your students to speak like native speakers? As long as we can understand them, that's all that matters, right? I mean, that's what counts. That's what counts. If we can understand them, well, it doesn't matter what they sound like. It doesn't matter. We just need to understand the idea. No, I'm sorry. It's not enough for you to understand the idea, okay? Because that is not enough for them to compete with you. That is not enough for second language learners to compete with you. If they're just able to make people understand what they're trying to say, that means they're not able to convince anybody about anything. They're not able to influence anybody. They're not able to sell anything. They're not able to sell themselves. They're not able to sell an idea. They're not able to sell a product. They're not able to sell a service. And they're not able to build important, valuable relationships. That's what they'd be missing out on. Native speakers, well, not all of them, but most of them can do that. Well, if they wanted to, if they have the experience, if they have the qualifications, if they have all that, that's all they need. Okay? They can speak the language. They don't care. They don't need Vietnamese. They don't need Japanese. The moment they walk out of the airport, if they happen to be in Vietnam, they gotta speak Vietnamese in Vietnam. If they happen to be, if they happen to be in Japan, they have to speak Japanese. Maybe only in Japan. They hardly have to, actually. They don't have to. But if you're in Japan, you can speak Japanese in Japan. But the moment you walk out of the airport, you don't need it anymore. You don't need it anymore. But when you're an English speaker, wherever you go, people will assume that you speak English. They're gonna try to speak English with you because that's the de facto language. That's the de facto language of the world. You understand? Does that make sense? So, okay, so back to what I was trying to say there. Native speakers look at language learning in a different way. Native speakers look at language learning in a different way, okay? For them, if they speak a second language, it's enough to speak it all right, okay? If they can speak it, well enough for you to understand what they're trying to say, that's good enough. Because they're not supposed to do more than that. That's all they're supposed to do. But that's not your situation, right? English is more valuable. It has a different status than any other second language in the world. So you need to be able to do more than just make people understand what you're trying to say to them. Okay? I mean, if you want to be a global player, that is, if you want to be a global player, then you're expected to use English very, very proficiently, very well. Okay? But that's not what's happening at the moment. There are a lot of people wasting so much time, so much money without getting any value for their money, without getting any benefits at all. And that's very unfortunate. Okay? I've had a lot of students who lived in the country for years and years and years. And they were literally crying when they were heading back to their countries. They were crying because they realized that they stayed here for 4 or 5 years and they could not do much. They could not do what they had come here for. And that's very, very unfortunate. So I guess what I was trying to say, guys, is native English is fluent, clear, and natural English. And it's not enough to make people understand what you're trying to say. Because English these days is the language that we use to succeed on the global stage. If you want to be a global player, you have to be a very strong communicator. Not just an okay communicator. You have to be a powerful, superior communicator. And that's a fact. Okay, that's all I wanted to say today. I hope you enjoyed the clip. Please subscribe to my channel. Like the videos if you do, that is. If you don't like them, don't worry about it. But if you like my videos, please hit the like button. Share it with your friends. Get the message out. Tell your friends all about it. Share that video with everybody you know, so they understand and they know what I'm talking about. If you have any questions, if you want to ask me any questions about anything you want, don't hesitate. Don't be shy. Drop me a line and let me know. I'll be more than happy to help. I'm always more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much for watching the clip, and keep in touch. Good luck.